The fishhook has been used for thousands of years by man for acquiring their food supplies. The earliest known fishhooks were from the Middle East in about 7000 BC, and over time man has crafted fishing hooks from all kinds of materials, including bone, horn, shells, stone, bronze, iron and present-day materials. The modern concept of fishing by rod and line as a sport was first described in the book The Complete Angler by Isaac Walton, published in 1652, which propelled the interest into an activity for the nation. Using a conversation between two characters, the book gives an informed representation of how, at that time, fishing with a rod and line was done. Following the interest of fishing as a leisure sport, quality steel hooks began to make their appearance in Europe in the 1600s. Since the fish hook is essentially a curved needle with a barb, then many of the skills required for needle making could also be applied to fish hooks, and their manufacture became a task for professionals. The manufacturing of fish hooks in Redditch began in around 1770, and the first notable manufacturers were needle makers. The 1898 catalogue of Henry Millward and Sons claimed that they manufacture fish hooks on a very extensive scale, being probably the largest makers in the world. However, the main product of needle manufacturers were not the fish hook, and as more specialist fish hooks were demanded, then specialist makers began to appear. In 1803, Polycarp Alcock, an apprentice in hook making, began his own business. However, it was his son Samuel Alcock who really expanded and created the business. Samuel was an entrepreneur and salesman, and he expanded the business to include reels, rods and other fishing tackle accessories. By 1880, Alcock were able to make the claim that they were the oldest and largest manufacturer of fishing tackle in the world. A member of the firm, James Young, designed a reel, the Ariel, and a few years later formed his own company, Young & Sons, to produce reels. At the end of the 19th century, Alcock & Company had become the largest fishing tackle manufacturer in the world and had moved to its site in Clive Road. It employed more than 1,000 people in Redditch, and its name was known throughout the world as a producer of quality merchandise. Alcock & Young continued to expand, and in 1963 they joined forces to form Top Tackle. However, the owners decided to sell the company, and it was purchased by the USA company Shakespeare in 1965. In 1968 there was a serious fire at the Clive Road factory, and so Shakespeare relocated the company first to a site in Brook Street and finally in 1979 to a site at the Lakeside Industrial Estate. During this period, the famous name of Alcock was dropped and replaced with the less well-known name of Shakespeare. Knowing the history of USA companies purchasing UK manufacturers, it was not surprising that the site was finally closed down and the manufacture moved to the Far East. Following the demise of Samuel Alcock, the main Redditch manufacturer of fish hooks became Partridge and Company. This had been formed in the second half of the 19th century. However, it was sold to the Norwegian manufacturer Mustad, and after a short time the manufacture at Redditch ceased and was moved to the Far East. The factory was converted into apartments in 2002. However, in Redditch there still remains a manufacturer producing hooks. Vince Green became involved in hook manufacture because our father Ted Green was responsible for hook manufacture at Alcock's. When it closed down, he formed his own company, Sprite Fishing Tackle, to produce Redditch-made fish hooks. Vince, a qualified design engineer, joined the company and after the death of our father continued to develop the company using his experience in engineering design. He continues to produce Redditch-made hooks for specialist manufacturers of fishing flies, etc., where the hook quality is essential.